Just moving. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Medford. I want to thank you all for joining us here today, and of course thank our Governor Healey, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, and Secretary Mahania. Did I do that right? Yeah, you did. For choosing the Mystic Valley Market as a location for this important anti-hunger announcement. And thank you to all our electeds who are here and everybody who works in the food security world. This market is such an important local resource for families and individuals that are facing food insecurity. As we all know, there's an affordability crisis throughout the Commonwealth and the country, and cuts to vital social services at the federal level are only making it harder for people and families to get access to the nutritious foods they need to survive. Every city and town throughout Massachusetts is on a mission to ensure that every community member has convenient access to food and is never questioning where their next meal is coming from. Resources like the market and the YMCA and our food systems connector on our community engagement team are vital in achieving this goal. The Governor and Lieutenant Governor and the team at the State House have been supporting this fight for so long to fight hunger, working to increase food access and advocating to restore federal funding in many ways, including the announcement today, as well as providing free meals for our students and so much more. I'm thankful for your leadership and guidance on this critical issue. I'd now like to welcome Governor Maura Healey.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mayor Lungo-Kern. We appreciate everything that you're doing. Thank you for hosting us. It's great to be here today in Medford at the Walnut Street Center to see the Mystic Community Market in action. And you know, it's we just were touring back at the market, and you know, it represents a lot of good that is happening around the state. Places like here that day in and day out, people are volunteering at, people are working at, and most importantly, people are showing up at hungry and in need of food. That's the reality in Massachusetts. It's the reality in states around this country right now. And the reason that we're here today is because this is a state, and these are people who have always wanted to make sure that no resident goes hungry, okay? That's Massachusetts. That's who we are. That's who we are in Massachusetts. And we also know we're at a time right now where President Trump and Republicans in Congress have made cuts, including cuts to resources that feed kids and seniors and families across this country. So in the midst of that, it was very important to the LG and me that we bring everyone together and say, we're going to work together like never before to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to end and prevent hunger in the Bay State. I'm joined today by leaders who make this market possible, along with similar resources all across our state. Thank you to our host, Deb Amaral, and the Mystic Valley YMCA, Kate Marie Roycroft of the Alliance of YMCAs, Carolyn Guffey of the Walnut Street Center, our friend Catherine D'Amato of the Greater Boston Food Bank, Aaron McLear of Project Bread, Andrew Morehouse, Food Bank of Western Mass, Jean McMurray of the Worcester County Food Bank, Pamela Keechler, Board Chair of MassCap, Christina Pachulis of the Mass Food System Collaborative, Pat Baker, Mass Law Reform, Jeff Nonheim, United Way of Franklin and Hampshire Region, Tim Garvin, United Way of Central Mass, and Stephen Leibowitz of the Brewster School Committee, here to talk about his own personal experience. We also have a team across our administration, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, joined by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Kiami Mahania, Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs, Rebecca Tepper, Secretary of Labor and Workforce Development, Lauren Jones, Secretary of Aging and Independence, Robert Limsom, Commissioner Jeff McHugh of the Department of Transitional Assistance, Commissioner Ashley Randall of the Department of Agricultural Resources, Director of Rural Affairs Ann Goby, Christina Aguilera Sandoval, Director of our Office of Refugees and Immigrants, Assistant Commissioner of Higher Education Ashley Little, Undersecretary of Transportation Hayes Morrison, and our partner Josiane Martinez, co-chair of our Latino Empowerment Council. I also note that we are joined by many electeds, including Rep. Donato, Rep. Kane, Rep. Decker, among others. We also have philanthropic leaders here with us today representing wonderful organizations that do great work, including efforts to end hunger, EOS Foundation, Boston Foundation, Cummings Foundation. Thank you all for being here. And look, you may wonder, I listed off a lot of people from our administration, okay? But when you're talking about hunger and when you're talking about the distribution of food and you're talking about getting food across the board to residents in our state, it involves that many members of our team, that many agencies and sectors cross-cut in this area, which just underscores how important it is that we work together, right? As a team, as we always do in Massachusetts when we're at our best, working together as a team. That's why it's local government, state government, partnering with our philanthropy, partnering with our wonderful nonprofits, partnering with the private sector as well to do what we need to do. So just to be clear, 2 weeks ago, Donald Trump signed into law a law passed by Republicans in Congress that cut $200 billion from food. And it's the biggest food cut to food support in American history. $200 billion, literally taking food off the table and out of the mouths of babies, of kids, of seniors, and families all across this great land. We know it's going to hurt more than 1 million people potentially in our state who use SNAP. And again, these include teens, parents, kids, infants, seniors, veterans, people with disabilities. 1 million in Massachusetts alone impacted by this, in a state of 7 million people. All of them, one way or another, are going to be at greater risk of hunger because of these cuts. Kids are going to go hungry, which will hurt their health, their development, their education. Older adults are going to face even tougher choices about groceries versus rent versus medication. Businesses that are already dealing with high costs are going to be dealing with the fact that some of this funding may be going away. SNAP injects $3 billion annually into the Massachusetts economy. $3 billion for our small businesses and retailers from these food support programs that now have been cut. That's 5,500 businesses. It includes our local farms, our shops, small grocers. Food pantries and distribution centers, always under strain, are going to be more under strain than ever before, facing heightened demand and fewer resources. You know, as I've said before, I think these cuts are cruel. I think they're destructive. And they're not going to save a dime. They're just going to impose greater costs and burdens on Americans around this country, on families, and on our businesses and economies. It's not something that we accept or going to stand by here in Massachusetts, so this is why we invited everybody here today, because we're about helping people, not hurting people. I put together a statewide hunger fighting team. That's what this is, a hunger fighting strike force, so to speak. And this anti-hunger task force is made up of many of the leaders that you see here today. I want to thank each and every one of you and your teams for stepping forward on this. I want to thank you for the work you do day in and day out for families and residents around Massachusetts. We're drawing on Massachusetts' strength, which is our people, talented and compassionate leaders of nonprofits, community groups, government agencies, philanthropies, and businesses who are going to work together to feed people. Hosting listening sessions around the state, making sure that we're focusing on the places where hunger is at the highest risk of increasing the fastest, working groups that will focus on specific populations and needs. In the first 6 months, they'll give me a plan for how to fill the gaps that we need to fill and get people the food they need before these cuts go into effect. We want to be ahead of this. Building on that blueprint, they'll develop longer-term sustainable solutions. And all are encouraged to use creativity, collaboration that has made Massachusetts a national leader when it comes to food support. We've been after this for a long time, and you've heard me talk about this in the past and my commitment, especially to our young kids and especially to families, and especially to families who are working so hard just to get by, just to survive, just to make ends meet. It's why we made breakfast and lunch free, available to all kids. No kid in this state should ever, ever go hungry, and I thank everybody for work on that. We've served 160 million meals in school alone just because of that effort. 2 years ago this week, in response to floods, we stood with many of you and stood up a farm relief fund so that we could save farms. Why? Because we've got to protect an important food supply to our region, particularly in western and central Massachusetts. And we have incredible people working day and night to end hunger in our state. We'll move forward in close collaboration with efforts already underway through Project Bread and the Make Hunger History campaign. And it will be informed by people who are most directly affected, who know what it's like to face hunger and brutal choices at home. We want to come out with an even stronger statewide food system than we've ever had before. It's really important, too, and a message to the public, look, now is the time for people wondering what they can do. Reach out, find out what your local food pantry needs. People are really dialed in and connected with one another statewide. Know that the need, I guess my message is to the public, the need is real, it exists now, and it's only going to get worse, given what President Trump and Congress has done with these cruel cuts. So now is the time to contact your local food pantry, find out how you can get involved, make a donation. They take cash in addition to food. Offer your time, too. Offer your time and your energy, and talk about this as an issue and show others how they can get involved to support one another. That's what we do best here in Massachusetts, taking care of one another, supporting one another. And I know, doesn't matter what party you're in, everybody believes that people shouldn't go hungry in our state. And I know we're capable, Massachusetts, of meeting this moment, of rising to the challenge. And I'd like to introduce a great friend to all of us, President and CEO of the Greater Boston Food Bank, Catherine D'Amato.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor Healey and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll. You're going to hear some great commentary in this short window that we have, so I want to be very brief. The leadership of this administration is taking action. They are acting, and they're acting now with an eye towards the future, as we just heard the governor speak. And we're all here to work with each other and to maximize our resources to create a hunger-free future for Massachusetts. And we all do different things. But when you put it together, it's extremely powerful. And I think that's just what the governor's message has been. So last month, the Greater Boston Food Bank, in collaboration with Mass General Brigham, published our 5th hunger study. And it's a statewide study. So the report makes it clear that the cost of hunger is staggering, measured not just in dollars, but in health, opportunity, and human potential. It's a wake-up call for all of us. It's a wake-up call for us to be coordinated in our action across the state. 1 in 3 households in Massachusetts where food is now defining a food insecure family. That's frightening to me, and as the governor noted, and Lieutenant Governor speaks about this a lot, it's going to get worse in terms of what we're going to see. So they're not just statistics, these are actually people. These are our neighbors, families being forced to choose between paying rent or buying groceries, adults skipping meals for their medication or to feed their children, children forgoing medical education or missing school, and veterans waiting in long car lines in order to get some food resources. The cost of hunger is far more than financial. It's isolating. And it impacts families around their educational and economic opportunities. It threatens our shared future. So programs like SNAP work, WIC works, MEFAP works, school meals work. We know that these are proven programs. And as noted, we're going to be facing some huge cuts, and our neighbors are going to have to turn to what is already a very overextended charitable hunger relief program across this state. But it is a system, and we are connected, and that is the way we can help each other. And that means programs like this one, the Mystic Community Market, and 900 food programs across the state. So as you begin to see that system, are all here to help. Greater Boston Food Bank knows that private philanthropy and a combination with the state cannot solve this problem. It also takes our federal government, so continue to fight. These reductions are going to be enormous. And doing nothing is not an option. It's not an option. And today is an example of doing something. And our governor and lieutenant governor know that. This is a solvable problem. Any advocate here and around Massachusetts will tell you, it's a solvable problem. We just have to really fight against that economy and politic to be able to help individuals. So it's not time for ownership. It is time for partnership. And I want to thank our governor and our lieutenant governor for taking this very major step to address the challenges ahead. We appreciate your leadership now, and we are grateful for your incredible record on this subject of food insecurity. You didn't just fall out of the sky this morning. You've been doing this work for a long time, and we know that as advocates. So we're all here to work with you. Let's get started.
I mentioned, thanks, Catherine. I mentioned we're lucky to have the partnership of so many in the legislature. I also want to thank Representative Tom Stanley as well for his work on this and any number of fronts. You want to do it? Sure, I'll go ahead. She wants it.
You work
You
so
can
hard.
take it over.
That's okay. You work so hard. I was so excited. So I want to introduce you to Debbie Amaral, who runs this Mystic Community Market. And she also is a board member of the Greater Boston Food Bank. But what I want you to know is this didn't exist 5 years ago. This program did not. It was the number one, the number one mayor. There you are, thank you. It was the number one food insecure city in eastern Massachusetts. And monies were invested in it, and today it's feeding thousands every month. That's an example of a return on investment. You're awesome, too.
So thank you very much. And so I'm very proud to represent not only the Mystic Community YMCA and the Mystic Community Market, but also the YMCAs of Massachusetts. And very few people know this about the YMCAs in Massachusetts, but each year the Ys serve approximately 11 million meals to individuals in Massachusetts. And it takes many different forms. Sometimes it takes summer meals, meals after school, and it also takes what we do in terms of food distribution. And for us, in 2020, we stood right here on February 14th of 2020, and we did a ribbon cutting. And many of the same people that are standing here, a few different, were here, and we did the ribbon cutting. And we only expected to serve, in our first year, 250,000 pounds of food, and at the end of our second, 500,000 pounds of food. And in fact, today, we serve about 2.6 million pounds of food, and we serve each month about 3,569, I have these numbers here. We've even developed this digital market thanks to help from the United Way, and we get some food. This is all food actually from the Greater Boston Food Bank. Like, this is what people actually receive due to the actual procurement that the food bank is able to do because of the sophisticated systems. Like what you think of as a pantry, it's a market. We have a swap system that has people have healthy food. It's because people deserve healthy food. And that's what I think is so important. It's not that we go and collect food like people used to collect, and we have fresh, lean proteins. And, we enable food from Aldi's, Target, Wegman. This thought of even when we met the Greater Boston Food Bank, it was at a community meeting at Wegmans when I sat next to Carol Tinkin and we started talking. And she's like, well, why aren't you getting food for your snack program with us? And I'm like, well, I feel bad because, we can do okay. She's like, no, you deserve to do this. I'm like, oh, okay. So then from there, we started to talk about other things, and then this kind of developed, right? So now we started. Now we're 2.4 million pounds of food that we distribute. We have 12,300 individuals a month that we're distributing to, and that's over 15,000 bags a month. We're not talking over 27 days. People need food. And I think that people understand that need. I mean, I think everyone's one paycheck away, and people understand, people are losing jobs. People understand, there's inflation. People need food. And so that, I think that the importance cannot be understated about what's happening right now with cutbacks, with health insurance for people in need, and SNAP. Because that one paycheck could be you at any time. And, we thought the pandemic was the crisis. Well, the pandemic, wasn't our peak. The peak came later. And the peak came, and there was no backfill. And that's the scary part, right, is that the peak came, and there's no backfill right now. So that people are coming for help, and we're not the emergency relief system right now. And right now, we're trying to build the system. Thank God the Greater Boston Food Bank's raising money. Thank God for FoodLink. Thank God we have a partnership with the Walnut Street Center that we're here with. Thank God that we have relationships with the city that help us to build a strong foundation, and then the individuals at our different supermarkets that help us to really go out and get some food. Sometimes we're fortunate that they'll have a pallet full of milk that just, something happened, and, it might be that one crate tipped the wrong way and they can't take it, so they'll call us. Or that the next day something might expire and they'll call us. And so we're so fortunate to have those relationships that started with the food bank and now they're with us. So we can't thank our community partners, and I have to say Project Bread too. I have a couple of my staff here where we provide summer meals in Everett and in Medford for the whole entire city. But it's thanks to, because in schools we have free and reduced lunch, that we're able in a city like Medford to provide them in many, many parks. It's because of that. And what happens when we cut back in we cut back with some benefits? It means that less kids can be automatically eligible, which makes things harder for us. So it has a ripple effect in a lot of different places. So, thank you to the governor and the lieutenant governor for leadership, to the food bank for leadership, Project Bread for leadership, for our state reps, our state senators, and to partners and, everywhere for leadership. We're so grateful to everyone's help. And I think I'm supposed to, I don't know, no one told me I'm supposed to introduce someone, but I'm gonna. So, yep, and it is. It's Erin McClare, President and CEO of the Project Bread.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Thank you, Governor Healey, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, the administration for standing up in this moment, for not only turning away from a growing crisis, but instead choosing to lead. Hunger is not an individual failing. It's a systemic one. And what we are seeing from Washington is a policy failure at an unprecedented magnitude. These cuts will pull food off the tables of children, seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities across our state. But it doesn't stop at the individual level. It will affect schools, healthcare, workplaces, our entire economy. When our neighbors can't afford to eat, we all feel it. That's why today's action matters so much. States across the nation have always looked to the Commonwealth for leadership, and this moment is no different. Massachusetts lives at the forefront of solutions to food insecurity. This task force is the bold next step we need to meet this moment. While Washington pursues a man-made crisis, Massachusetts is stepping up, just as we always have. So much of this work is already underway. Project Bread proudly formed the Make Hunger History Coalition in 2023. Over 300 stakeholders, from healthcare to business to people who are experiencing hunger today, have come together around a shared belief that hunger is a solvable problem, and despite the recklessness in Washington, that resolve hasn't changed. This is real progress. We know what our state is capable of. In recent months, as federal threats to SNAP, school meals, and WIC have escalated, the Make Hunger History Coalition mobilized across the entire Northeast region to defend the systems that keep people fed. Our message is and was clear: food is not a luxury. Project Bread hears every day from the more than 25,000 households we directly support that these programs are a lifeline. Cutting them is like shutting off the power in a storm, leaving people vulnerable when in fact they need the support the most. Our state agencies are critical in this effort, which is why this interagency collaboration is so necessary. The Department of Transitional Assistance is helping over 1 million people right now effectively and efficiently access food with choice. The Summer Eats program is estimated to feed over 2 million meals this July alone. Schools, 900,000 kids are getting free breakfast and free lunch. These programs are huge, and us coming together to collaborate with this task force will have really meaningful impact. As we move forward, we remain committed to ensuring that people who are experiencing hunger today are not just heard, but are leading. Their leadership will continue to guide this next phase. We are proud to work with the administration who understands what is at stake and refuses to look away. Together, we can meet this moment. I am so grateful now to introduce Steve Leibowitz. Steve is a member of the Make Hunger History Advisory Council, a school committee member, and a lifelong advocate with deep personal and professional insight into food insecurity. A senior, SNAP participant, and person living with a disability, Stephen draws on his lived experience as well as his leadership in local government to elevate the challenges faced by older adults and individuals managing on limited incomes, as well as the impacts on the broader community. Thank you, Steve, for dedicating yourself to being a steady voice grounded in experience and committed to action.
Thank you, Erin. I appreciate that. I was thinking about what an honor it is to be on the advisory panel for that, and we have so many great experts working with us. For folks that want to get involved, makehungerhistoryma.org. Check out the website. Added that piece. Great appreciation to the governor and lieutenant governor for outstanding commitment to food access in this state. I was thinking on my way up here, I came up from the Cape today. For some reason, I got off the Cape today. But I was thinking, shortly before the governor was inaugurated, they came down and helped us at Family Table Collaborative in South Yarmouth in the kitchen, packing meals and distributing meals to hundreds of folks on Cape Cod. So this commitment is something that I know that they feel in their soul. For me, I grew up food insecure. One of 4 boys, single mom, and a lot of clawing to get by. I was thinking earlier, I said, I lived in 6 different places between the time I was born and got out of high school. And it was a struggle, but we got through. And I kind of joke now, I said, I never saw a piece of broccoli till I got to college, which was very much, it's like, all these new things that are in front of me now. Fast forward quite a number of years to 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with a vision disability, and among the consequences of that was that I was eligible for a SNAP benefit, a small SNAP benefit, a small but important SNAP benefit. And I think some of the ways in which I work with that other individuals work with that, families work with that, are illustrative of what the impact is going to be from these cuts. This time of year, I try not to use too much of that, except for the farmers markets, where a lot of our farmers markets do bonuses for SNAP recipients, or there are HIP vendors there. So access to great local produce from our farmers is available. So I try to use some at the farmers market, but I also try and kind of put some away because, as the governor referred to, people have to make choices. And the difference in my utilities, for instance, in the summer versus the winter, $50 versus about $300 a month. So I tried to put in kind of a nice glide path there and hold on to some of the SNAP to get through the winter because of those real choices that I have to make, other people have to make. The second thing, I want to put my school committee hat on and also relate this with SNAP and the Brewster School Committee. I often have to tell people, I said, food insecurity is very real on the Cape and Islands also. In the elementary schools in my town, I think 45% of the students qualify for free or reduced lunch. And that's really important. It's important that these families have SNAP. It's important what that percentage is, because that percentage brings back federal money to us, and that federal money helps us pay for school meals for all in this state. If those numbers start to go down in my town, in your city, there's going to be a significant gap that is going to need to be made up in order for us to be able to continue what we know has been a successful and worthwhile program for our kids in this state. So for both of those things, I hope the public is listening. We'll take action and support these. As Congressman McGovern often says, it's not that we lack resources, we need to have the political will to do this. So with that, I would like to bring Governor Healey back to the podium.
Thanks, Steve. That's great. Thank you so much. All right. Great. We're going to move ahead and sign this. Wow. That's great. Here, help me move it just a little bit. Okay. Awesome. Everybody gather around. Where's Catherine? Let's see. Catherine.
I'm going to go with this guy. I like him.
Howard would be so proud. He really would be. Catherine, let's get you in here.
I'm good.
Yeah, I know.
You're doing the fight, right? We gotta fight. We've been fighting. Thank you for that. I can also. How are you?
You good? Yep. All right, great. Excellent. And it is the same, right? In Medford.
Method.
Proper pronunciation.
All right, that's great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you to all who are going to do the work, too. Super, super important. Really, really great. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Thank you.